Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Wayne Baker and I'm one of the staff therapists at Affair Recovery. And we're going to continue the series that we started a few weeks ago on how could you. We're going to continue to talk about moral disengagement, the whys behind the reasons for infidelity. And according to Albert Bandura, there are 8 forms of moral disengagement, and we're going to talk about 3 more of those today. So the first one we're going to talk about is euphemistic labeling. Euphemistic labeling uses selective language to mask the harmfulness of some blameworthy activity, or at least give it a more respectable position on what has happened. And when we do this, what we do is avoid the negative emotions like fear or shame or guilt that are normally associated with the damaging conduct that we've participated in. Especially in infidelity recovery, euphemistic labeling kind of softens the language we use to make these behaviors seem less harmful or hide even the true meaning of what's happened. I see this every day in my office. So suspending one's morals requires using the language, what we call non-responsibility, to redefine the behavior into something that doesn't seem so bad or look so bad. This euphemistic or sanitizing language also allows infidelity to lose much of its repugnancy or its shame. See if you've heard some of these examples before. I hear them frequently. Spouses will have an encounter rather than an affair. This is a really common one in our culture right now. We talk about a hookup with someone and making it sound like we just met an old friend rather than that we had anonymous sex. Another one is, it was just sex, it doesn't mean anything. That's one I hear a lot. Or just sexting. Such a phrase like that is far more palatable than we were exchanging naked photos of ourselves over cell phones. Another one that I hear a lot is that I strayed rather than saying I cheated or I betrayed our trust or I betrayed our vows. So you see what I'm talking about, this sanitized language, this euphemistic labeling that's so common in our culture. And it's not just in infidelity, this is everywhere. Another technique to minimize hurtful actions is called advantageous comparison. This is where we contrast our behavior with other instances of more immoral conduct. And in doing this, we compare our own behavior and we trivialize it. The more immoral the opposing behavior is, the more likely it is that our destructive behavior will seem less bad. So if you've been following along, you know that our old friend Albert Bandura did all this research on this moral disengagement. And he says this about advantageous comparison. He says that terrorists see their behavior as acts of selfless martyrdom by comparing them with widespread cruelties inflicted on the people with whom they identify. And when we're talking about infidelity, the more outrageous the contrast, the more likely that the unfaithful spouse's actions will seem almost benevolent at times. An example that we hear sometimes is that the damage caused by an affair is minimized by claiming that it's nothing compared to the pain that they endured caused by their mate's controlling behaviors through the years. And, it's probably the thing that's going to save their marriage. We hear that frequently. Another one is that we're just friends. It's far better than me going out and sleeping with prostitutes. Why can't you see that? It wasn't a really big deal. So you see the advantageous comparison there. Another one that I hear very frequently, ever since I started a private practice, was that I only looked at porn. I didn't have sex with anyone. Those are just some examples of advantageous comparison. So with displacement of responsibility, we're less likely to take responsibility for our own actions when other people are present. We'll diffuse responsibility by claiming that everyone does it sometimes. An example of that might be that all the guys were going to the strip club. It's just what guys do. So you see it's diffused, it's displaced. Remember, it's really important to remember, because we hear about this all the time, or at least I do, is that none of these forms of moral disengagement justifies in any way infidelity. But we're constantly asked, why did you do this? Why did he do this? Why did she do this? How did I get here, Wayne? And some of these forms are not going to apply to you, but they may help you begin to understand your own thinking or of how your spouse got to the place where they could commit such a hurtful act. What I'd really love at this point, if you would post some comments below of examples of moral justifications that you've heard before as you and your spouse work through this. Maybe you've heard it from other places. Hopefully then it will begin to help other people open their eyes to the why and how could you do this, so that some people may avoid some of the pain that is associated with this devastating path. So if you've been unfaithful, I hope you'll take advantage or at least check out the Hope for Healing course. I believe that it really will help you and your spouse with your transformational journey. It's more likely it's time for something new and grounded in years of solid experience, where you're not probably the worst case scenario in the room, and we're not beating a dead horse. Those are two examples that we hear a lot of people's resistance to try something new. It may just change your family's trajectory. Believe me when I say there's more hope for your situation right here, right now, today than you realize. There is always more hope. So thanks again for joining me, and please join me again next week.